जय श्री राम। श्रीरामचंद्रः शतपारिजातः समस्त कल्याण गुणाभिरामः सीतामुखाम्भोरुह चञ्चरीकः निरन्तरं मंगलमातनोतु। This is a brief discourse on Sita Rama Kalyanam. I am sharing with my granddaughters, especially Dr. Harichandana, and my grandsons, Sricharan, Vishnucharan and Haricharan. Sita Rama Kalyanam is a very important episode in Sri Valmiki Ramayanam Balakanda. Tomorrow happens to be Sri Ramanavami, the day of Sri Rama's birth. It is said, this is auspicious, that we should recite certain slokas from Balakanda, Sri Sita Rama Kalyana Sarga. Balakanda is highlighted and concluded with Srinivasi Sita Rama Kalyanam. I would now come to an important landmark in the Balakanda, that is Sri Sita Rama Kalyana, holy wedlock of Sri Ramachandra and Sita. We come to the context where Vishwamitra and the rishis proposed to Sri Rama and Lakshmana that they should go to Mithila, and the attraction in Mithila, as they put it, is twofold. King Janaka is performing a great sacrifice and it is worth watching it. Another thing is that in that king's possession there is a great divine bow, the one which Shiva used when he destroyed the Tripuras, Shiva Dhanusu. That bow has come into Janaka's possession later. The exact way, the stages through which it is passed are not uniformly described in the Ramayana text, nor is it necessary for us to go into that controversy and speak something about it. One way or another, Janaka at that time possessed the bow. So these rishis, including Vishwamitra, told Sri Rama and Lakshmana, we go to the Mithila in order that we may be present at that great sacrifice, and in order also that you may see this famous bow which was handled by the great god in a great action, and which subsequently has attracted the notice of all kinds of people because they came and tried to lift it and draw it. They could do neither. So you had better go and see it. I want to notice here one thing. Valmiki's omissions are very striking. At that very time, it was well known that Janaka had ordered it to be known that his daughter Sita was to be given as bride to that person who would take the bow and string it. She was therefore to be Virya Sulka. Vishwamitra and the rishis should have known it already. Vishwamitra could not have been innocent of the matter. Nevertheless, they did not mention it to Sri Rama earlier. They just told Rama that there was a bow of some interest at Janaki's in Mithila. I think that is one of those significant reticences which even our elders practice in daily life. They want young ones not to know certain things. They like to keep some things from them so that they may be surprised, or that they may not by anticipation disable themselves in any way from the performing of the great duty. Whichever the intention may be, Vishwamitra must have thought to himself, I will not tell Rama about his having to try his hand on the bow. When they go there and King Janaka asks, who are these princes who looks so handsome? Vishwamitra tells him who they are and also that they have come to see the bow. Then Janaka says for the first time, oh, the bow. You know, I have made a promise that whoever is able to manipulate it should be the husband of my daughter Sita. If Rama is lucky, he will be my son-in-law. Of course, you must know the decorous way in which Rama would behave. He said never a word. The bow was brought. it would appear 5,000 men had to drag the carriage which had 8 wheels. When the bow was brought, Janaka was saying by way of encouragement how many fellows had come and been unable to even to lift it. As this 15-year-old boy stood in front of the thing, apparently hesitantly and coyly, the audience must have felt, he is going to be under failure. Vishwamitra only said, Vatshara madhanu pasya iti raghavam abravit. What does it mean? Show it to these boys. Let them see it. The great box came over and he lifted the lid and looked at the bow. And in a tone of apparent humility he asked, May I touch it? They both said, Okay, yes, certainly. Rama again asked, May I take it and try to work it? And they said, Oh yes. Without any obvious effort, he took the bow and bending it, strung the instrument, but it broke in his hands in twain. As it broke, Valmiki Maharshi says, the world shook, everybody dropped in fear, birds and beasts alike were seized with great fright. Only King Janaka and the 2 brothers, Rama and Lakshmana, and Vishwamitra were able to maintain their posture. The rest of the world was thrown out of balance. As the bow broke, imitating such demonstrations, Janaka at once said, My heart's wish is fulfilled now. I have found the suitable bridegroom. Now I will send people, trusted messengers to Dasharatha and ask him to come and bless the couple as they became husband and wife. In narrating this story subsequently to Anasuya, Sita gives a slightly different account. That is one of the characteristics of the poem. An episode is not always repeated in the same language or in the same order of the details. Some little discrepancy is to be generally found. In this case, however, as it is one of the principles of exegesis, I do not think it necessary to say that there is any inconsistency. What Sita says is, as soon as the bow was broken and I became the victor's property, my father took water in a vessel and was about to give me away on the spot to Sri Rama. But Sri Rama said, No, I cannot accept a wife whom my father has not approved of. So King Janaka had to send messengers. That is the way Sita puts it. Her recollection must be correct, I take it. There are also other discrepancies between the 2 accounts, but we are not at the moment concerned with the rest. This, however, is of some significance. Okay. He was not willing to take me on the spot as one conquered because he wanted to know his father's wish in the matter, Sita told Anasuya. You know, as soon as Dasharatha received the message of Janaka, he rejoiced and set out to Mithila with his great preceptors and the army too. Now, there is a point here worth mentioning. As you read the text, you find Sita stood on a footing somewhat different from the footing occupied by her sister Urmila and her cousins Mandavi and Shrutakirti. She had been conquered already. She had fallen to the lot of Sri Rama. But as you know, 3 other weddings also took place at the same time. How did they take place? That is a thing worth seeing from the text of Sri Ramayanam. Janaka did not offer Urmila to Lakshmana. That is the great point. Now, were Mandavi and Shrutakirti offered to Bharata and Shatrughna respectively. Valmiki, apparently following the Brahma Vivaha system, said that in form. Vasishtha, having given the long pedigree of the Ikshvaku family, say some 25 generations, concluded his oration, a catalogue of names, a list of names with these words. And now, O King, I solicit the hand of Sita for Sri Rama, and the hand of Urmila for Lakshmana. For the first time the thing is mentioned then. It is not as if Janaka had a large number of horoscopes that had been examined, had run about offering the girl to this man or that man, had inquired, do you want rupees 20,000 or more? The old prescribed thing was for the bridegroom's men appointed for the purpose, Vaidik's landmen, to go about and find a suitable bride. Kanyavaranam we call it. That was what was done. Vasishtha soliciting the hand of Urmila for Lakshmana, the other wedding being taken as a matter of course, was in conformity with the usage. Then Vishwamitra took up this story. He says, now a rare thing in human history has happened. Whoever heard of two kings like Janata and Dasharatha coming at one place? Shatananda happens to be the son of Ahalya and Gautam Rishi. Satananda here and Vasishtha there either side, the Ikshvakus and Videhas. Now that they are all here, I request you, King Janaka, to give your brothers and daughters also to the other two sons of Ayodhya monarch, Dasharatha Maharaja. The proposal came from a bridegroom's side. The solicitation was all the other way. When the ceremony actually takes place, the famous verse which can never be repeated too often on auspicious occasions was spoken by Janaka. He held his daughter Sita by the hand, and fixing her before Sri Rama within sight of the Agni, he said, Iyam Sita mama suta sagadharmachari tava pratichachainam bhadrante pani grushnishva panina pativrata mahabhaga chayeve anugata sada ichuttva prakshipadraja mantrabhotan jalantada. What does it mean? Here is my daughter. Look here. It is my daughter who is going to be your partner in all the prescribed duties. Take her and be blessed. Take her right hand in your right hand. She will be faithful unto you and bring you the best of luck, and she will follow you like your shadow forever and forever. So was that marriage concluded. The other pairs were also united in holy wedlock. Passing over the dread episode of Parasurama, I will, just with your permission, come to the concluding part of the Balakanda, where the poet describes the condition of transcendental bliss in which these four couples lived together under Dasharatha's roof. The poet has no words good enough to describe the closeness of the union, of the ways in which husband pleased wife and wife pleased husband. Especially does he refer to the couple Rama and Sita, for, as it will happen in this fateful story, Bharata and Shatrugna were early taken away by Yudhishthira, the maternal uncle of Bharata. Whether Mandavi and Sudakirti followed them to Kekeya, the poet does not mention. Our poet is very peculiar, Maharshi Valmiki. He cares only for Sita. He has work enough describing her, detailing her deeds and bringing before the reader her great qualities. The other three brides are not mentioned. In fact, Mandavi and Sudakirti have their names mentioned only once. Whether they went to Kekeya Maharaj is not known to us. Even when Bharata returned, he returned only after Dasharatha's death, of which he did not know at the time. Mandavi and Sudakirti are not mentioned. If Valmiki did not think it necessary to say anything about them, I feel it is reasonable on our part to pay no attention to them. We cannot help it. Let us suppose that everything was all right with them. But there is one little point that has lent itself to some controversy. As the poet Valmiki describes the love of Sita for Rama and of Rama for Sita, he uses highly poetical and suggestive language. He says, they read each other's thoughts readily. In fact, they told each other what they wanted. The tongue and the lips did not play any part, nor perhaps did the eyes. And heart spoke to heart. Hridaya coming glad. The desire of each was known to the other. It is difficult to say who loved whom the more, and then in a verse, the poet Valmiki says, Priyata Sita Ramasya Dara Pitrakrutayati. That expression was expounded here once by a highly esteemed authority. Sri Ramacharita speaks much about it. Thus, Sita Rama Kalyanam, the holy wedlock, had taken place to the delight of the people there, and we cherish as if we were present in Treta Yuga and enjoy the melody and the delight of seeing their wedding. Jai Sri Ram.